Hey guys, this is Locke. This is my review of Summoner's War Lost Centuria. I think this is a fantastic game and I see myself playing it for quite a while, so I thought I would do a review and hopefully get more people interested in it. To start off, this game is a player versus player type of game. There is quite a very limited number of PvE content, so if that's your thing, playing against other players, interacting against other players, this is definitely the game for you. Um, the game style is quite fast paced. Sometimes decisions that you make in a split second, a fraction of a second, could change the entire tide of the battle. So if you enjoy that kind of games, that kind of gameplay, I would really highly recommend that you pick this up, give it a try. Um, I'm giving like a very quick summary of the game right now, and then I'll get into some of the more details. So matches are quite quick. I think matches typically last between 3 minutes, or roughly around 3 minutes per match. It is quite a popular game. Whenever I am trying to fight against somebody, I usually only have to wait about 10 seconds before I find another person to play against. I heard there were like 2 million people already pre-registered for the game. It is under the Summoners War franchise, so there was a lot of hype because of that. Um, However, most of the rewards and most of the progression are all tied to playing against other players in the ranked battle. So if you are a type of person that doesn't really enjoy PvP, maybe this is not the game for you. But even still, I would highly recommend that you give it a try anyway, just because um, this is a game where skill is actually a lot more important than the strength of your party itself. And what I mean by that is you might spend some money to get an advantage, but skill actually counts for a lot more than the amount of money that you spend on this game. That is just the type of game this is. That's what I found, and I've been playing it all day. And so let's get actually into it to talk about the game itself now. So in this game, you are summoning some monsters. This is how the summoning animation looks like. This is actually the uh, uh, like a free type of summoning, so it's not as exciting as the real summoning. Which I'll show you in a few seconds. So you can either summon monsters or you can summon spells. This is one of the spells. Um, this is what the actual summoning animation looks like when you're summoning. So here you can get between a normal monster, a rare monster, a heroic monster, or a legendary monster. Whereas the free summons, and by the way, you have to play the game. You get these glory medals, and once you get 60 of them, you can summon three between normal to heroic monsters. So this is how you get monsters and skills. Once you get them, you can go to this section here to take a look at the different monsters that you have. Um, uh, Monsters start off at different levels according to their rarity. If you have a normal monster like this one, it starts at level 1. If you have a rare one, I believe it starts at level 3. And then a heroic monster starts at level 5. And a legendary monster starts at level 7. Now, you do need multiple copies of these monsters to level them up, so it might actually make sense to invest in some of the lower rarity monsters instead of legendary ones, because it'll be easier for you to get them up to a higher level than trying to get these legendary monsters up to like level 8, 9, 10, whatever. So, keep that in mind. And also, a lot of these lower rarity monsters actually have quite powerful effects that I see them being used all the time. Um, so keep that in mind that you don't actually need to have like a full roster of legendary to heroic monsters to take out other teams. I have met players that have only used, like for example, rare monsters and defeated my team, which has like three of these legendary monsters. So this is what I mean by skill is more important than the strength of your units. So the main mechanic behind the skill being a factor is something called a counter mechanic. So what happens is I will use a very easy example. I'm going to say that, for example, Where is this guy? This guy. Okay, so his this guy's skill, what it does is, if when you use your skill, if you can read the description of clean shot. When you use clean shot, if if you defeat the enemy using the skill, you can uh, basically recover your own HP by completely killing the enemy. So what happens is, suppose both myself and my opponent both have this monsters, and let's just say, for the sake of simplicity, it's a one-on-one battle. So I am fighting him, he's fighting me. At some point, I realize that I have enough mana. I'll talk about mana later, but I have enough mana to cast my skill. Now I click to cast my skill, and as I click to cast my skill, there is a limited window of opportunity where my opponent can countercast. So if I cast my skill and within that time he also casts the exact same skill, the counter mechanic goes off first. So he actually gets to pull his skill off before I do. So say we were both at half health and he used the skill. So I use the skill first, but his skill goes off first, and he kills my, my bear, I guess, my war bear, and defeats it, and he gets to full health. So timing these skills now become very important, and on top of that, now you have to see, like, do you want to be the first person to use the skill, or do you want to wait to see if he uses the skill? If neither player uses any skills, like, units are normal attacking and the units will die, right? So you want to be using skills, but you also want to time it in a way that you can interrupt the other person's casts and use counter skills. Um, it's like it's interesting because there's like layers upon layers of decision making that goes into it. So that's why I find it really enjoyable, and I realize that like there's quite a bit of skill to pull off these combos correctly. And myself, like, I've been playing it all day. I think I'm at rank like 1000 now, and still I have not mastered this counter mechanic. I've mistimed my counters. I've casted it too early or too late, and I haven't figured it out yet. No, to be fair, I have not played the beta version that other players have, so I am new to this game. Today is my first day actually playing it. However, I have seen some videos of it and it looked interesting, so when it came out, I downloaded it right away and got into it. Um, so the counter mechanic, in my opinion, is one of the things that make this really skill based. Like, you have to pay attention and time your cast correctly. But on top of that, you also have, like, you have 8 units that you can take into battle at once. You have to figure out which of the skills you're going to counter with sometimes, right? You might misclick something, or do you want to attack somebody, or do you want to wait because you think he's going to cast something and you want to counter. So one example. So say again, my opponent has this unit at half health. Now I can use, say, this person's skill to kill the warbear, and as I kill the warbear, I proc a different effect that gives me a huge advantage. However, if I use the skill and with the countercast, my opponent pulls off a skill like this one, which can stun a number of my units, then I'm at a disadvantage, right? So I have to make the decision on whether I need to use this skill to finish off the bear, or if I'm anticipating my opponent to cast the stun skill, so I want to use this skill to give myself immunity. So I want to basically cast the skill as he's casting his stun skill so that I don't get stunned. But at the same time, I also have to make the decision if I want to do that, or if I want to go for it and try to kill his warbear and give myself an advantage. So as you can see, like, every decision starts to count, and you don't like, everything is fast paced. So you don't really you have a limited amount of time to also make your decisions as well. So that's why I like it, because I think that this is a quite a potential for this game to become like rewarding the more skilled you are. And now I want to talk a little bit about the units, the different kinds of ways you can enhance them. So when you get a unit, as I said, you start off, for example, a rare unit at level 3. As you pull multiple copies of them, you get more of these shards of their units, and you can start upgrading them. As you upgrade them, their level goes up. See, this one goes from level 3 to level 4. As you can see, their stats increase by roughly 10% as they level up. If I level up again, I think it'll increase by another 10%. Yep, so 110 to 121 is 10%. So so you can increase their stats by leveling up. But on top of that, each monster has one of three different skill stones that you can equip. And these skill stones give a different effect to whatever the monster's skill or a passive or something. Like it affects the monster by itself. And you can customize what your unit is going to do by which skill stone you choose to equip. And sometimes, like the lower variety skill stones might be a better effect. Like for example, in this case, I have a heroic skill stone, but I chose to use the normal one because for me, I think that's a better effect. But still, like this could have other uses as well because you can use them as sort of like an off healer or something. So I think it provides an additional layer of customization to the gameplay, and this is all in the setup screen as well. You're not even playing yet. You already have to decide which of these skill stones you're going to use. On top of that, you can also equip different runes to make your unit stand out and enhance the strengths of the units. For example, this is an attack unit, so I can equip runes like fatal runes, which would give an overall effect of plus 15% attack. If it was a supporting rune, for example, maybe I would want to increase its HP or defense or some other ability instead. There is one rune set that I found to be quite interesting, and that rune set is called the Swift rune set, which decreases the mana cost by 1. So now I'll talk about what mana cost means. As you can see in the top left corner of the portrait of this monster, there's a 3. So what that means is in-game, your mana will slowly regenerate from 0 to 10, and it'll keep regenerating every second. And as you use skills, your mana cost goes down. So if I'm going to use the Sea Emperor's skill, his mana will go down by 3. Now, I find this Swift set to be really interesting because the very first time you cast a spell, the mana cost is reduced by 1. So this makes it a very strong set for the early game, but as the game continues on and you're taking your second and third turns, the effect of this diminishes because you're not getting any effect after you use the skill the first time. So I think it's an interesting choice, and I haven't decided if it's if this is the this is the rune set I should be going for, or if I should be going for like an attack rune set or HP rune set or something. I haven't decided, but I just thought it was interesting that they give you the choice to have a very good early game with the customization of runes that you can equip on these monsters. On top of this, aside from monsters, you also get to bring 3 spells into the game. These spells are usually game-changing, and you don't know what spells your opponent has when the game starts. You can look at the 8 monsters that your opponent is bringing, but you have no clue what the spells that he's bringing in are. Each spell can only be used once in the game, so you have to figure out when you want to use it. And again, the effects are pretty interesting, but the additional layer of complexity is that even these spells can be countered. So, for example, if I'm casting this spell, which gives you which puts a very powerful debuff on my opponent might get the countercast of this skill to give everybody immunity, and suddenly my powerful spell that I used doesn't do anything, right? So you can see how the timings in these games are really important, and getting the timing right and the counters right is, I think, the key to doing really well in this game. On top of that, I find that there are many different strategies that exist within the choice of units. For example, one easy strategy I'm going to talk about is, so this unit has a skill that will do random amounts of damage to different opponents, opponent units, and has a 30% chance to stun those units. However, if it's afflicted by a continuous damage debuff, it has a 100% chance to stun. So instead of casting this skill, I first cast this skill, which afflicts all my enemies with the continuous damage debuff, and then cast uh, where did he go? This one. Then cast this guy's skill. Now suddenly every cast that he does has a 100% chance to land a stun. And now that is based on like accuracy and resistance checks, but you can see how it dramatically increased the damage and overall effectiveness of these two units' skills. So that is one combo that exists. There's another combo that I found out that I've been using lately. So this guy does a skill where he will attack whatever unit last used a skill on my opponent's side. So after he uses this skill, usually whatever he attacked um, has the least amount of HP now because he's a high attack unit. So if I use that skill and then I combine it by using this one, who will attack the lowest HP unit, suddenly I will get two hits on a backline unit, and I'll most likely kill that unit. So that is again a another like very quick combo that I found that I've been toying around with today. Again, this is just my first day. Maybe there are better combos out there. I don't know yet, but I find the existence of these combos to be really interesting. And the other thing is that these combos can also be countered. So the thing is, like, I've been talking about these units up here because I'm more familiar with them, just because I've been using them a lot. But the counters exist on lower rarity units as well. Like for example, I mentioned the continuous damage debuff, and then the stun debuff. So for example, after I use a continuous damage debuff and I'm mid cast of my stun debuff, if my opponent uses this skill to counter, then all of the debuffs that were already on my units are gone, right? And the stun chance now goes down from 100% to 30% again. Or I could build this unit to have a very high resistance, so that even when I pull off the continuous damage plus stun debuff, I can just use this skill to negate the effect of that powerful combo. So this is what I mean. Like the plays and counterplays that exist in the game, I think are great, and I think that makes for fantastic gameplay. And that's also why I think that even if you have like a lot of legendary units, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to win unless you, first of all, perfect your counter. The counter mechanic, and secondly, team building also matters a lot. You have to have a strategy for your team, and in my opinion. And on top of that, I think that just because of the counterplays that exist, even if you have a team full of legendaries, you might be able to counterplay it with a team of, like, say, heroic and rare monsters. The normal monsters are good, I think, but I haven't found too many that are useful yet. But I have seen other people use them a lot, especially this one, which gives you a buff to increase your mana regeneration. So I have seen a lot of people using this. Even people with, like, say, 5 or 6 legendary units will use like this one on top of that. So there are some of these lower rarity units that are used even within the top 1,000 ranked mode. So anyway, now I'm going to show you some gameplay footage, and I will talk about it. I'll talk about how the game is played while you look at the footage. In this match, I'm using 3 legendary units and 3 heroic units with 2 rare units, while my opponent is using mainly rare units. So this is what I mean by a a match is not just decided by the strength of your units. Sometimes even lower variety units are better. And there's also a skill factor for the players, like how well you can countercast abilities, which also affect the outcome of the match. Um, this is a match that I do actually end up losing, but I want to show you, that it doesn't really matter how many legendaries I have. I could still lose to a better player. So hopefully that encourages you to try it out, even if you're not planning on spending a lot of money to get legendary units. The lower rarity units are still quite powerful. Um, Now, to explain some of the mechanics, at the lower right bar, that is your mana counter. It keeps going up, and whenever you use skills, the mana drops. Um, uh, s- uh, I'm gonna try to explain the counter mechanic, but it's a bit crazy because see, I just casted a spell and my opponent casted another spell which stunned my unit that was casting her skill. This means that I end up using the mana for the skill, but I don't actually get any effect because she was stunned mid cast. So that's exactly what I mean by perfecting the counter mechanic, and that happens over and over again. Sometimes I actually get some lucky counters, and my opponent actually gets quite a few lucky counters. So here's one that I got. There's a lucky one, where he was trying to cast a skill, and I used a stun spell to stop him mid cast. So I think learning how to master that counter mechanic will be vital to this game, and I think there is quite a learning curve to it because it seems like the timing of that counter has to be perfect. It can't be like half a second slower or faster. So I think it's a great game for that reason, just because skill is such a huge impact. Like right now, it seems like I think I'm winning because I have 3 units to my opponent's 2, but he manages to change the tide of the game and ends up winning. So he's using many skills that have continuous damage debuffs. So even if I have many units remaining, they have low HP, and he actually ends up killing them all with using that skill, and that's how I end up losing. So as you can see, the strength of units doesn't always decide the outcome. So that's how the gameplay in this game looks like. And I hope I've given you enough to at least get you interested in this game. I think I will be covering this game going forward. I currently have only one game that I cover on a regular basis called War of the Visions, but I think this game has enough in it to keep me interested for a while, and I think there's also a lot of like tactical, strategic plays you can make, which make me quite interested in learning more about the game and figuring things out. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it makes you interested in at least trying it out and seeing for yourself what it's like. And if you did enjoy this video and enjoy this commentary, I hope you like and subscribe so that you can get more of me and my videos and comments. Anyway, I thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day and take care.